Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for everybody's support. We just cleared 18,000 subscribers. It's absolutely amazing. I owe all of it to you. So this is round two. The questions and answers. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel to get all the updated content and the patrol vlogs where I do out on the road. Also, follow me on Instagram where I give you in-between content when I'm at work, funny pictures, funny stories, anything I could do in the meantime. So for now, let's get into the questions. All right, so this is a good question. And I'm not gonna read your full name because even though it's funny, it's just gonna sound bad. So I'm gonna call you Toxic. Toxic says, when you go through the hiring process and a background investigator happens to speak to a family member or friend that you don't have a good relationship with, what happens if they say something negative? Would that disqualify you? That's a good question because this is part of the hiring process. When you go through, they're gonna do a background check and they will legitimately go talk to family members. They will talk to neighbors, places you used to live, to try and get an idea of your personality and background, so to speak. What my answer for this would be is it should not be something that would disqualify you because they're not going to just go talk to one family member of yours. They're going to talk to a group of people, and you have to realize you're talking about investigators just like police officers. This is what they do. They should know the difference between somebody who's completely feeding them a line of crap and somebody who's being sincere. Let's say, worst case scenario, you have that one family member who puts on a good show, doesn't like you, doesn't have very nice things to say about you. That should hopefully be only one person out of the numerous people that they're going to talk to during that thing. So one person should not disqualify you from that. Now, if they go and they interview 3 or 4 of your family members and they all talk crap about you, and then they talk to your neighbor and your second grade teacher and they all say bad stuff too, then you might have an issue. But one person alone just trying to throw you under the bus should not affect you overall. 3 different people asked me this question, and it says, basically, if you could switch jobs for a day, or if I was not a police officer, what would I do? What I always tell everybody is when I'm done with this job, or if I won the lottery or something, what I thought I would go do is work at a demolition company. And I would drive one of these giant backhoes and then just destroy shit all day long. Like, how fun would that be just to drive one of these big machines, and every day you show up to work, it's like, hey, we need you to go destroy that. Like, okay, I can do that, and just wreck stuff all day long. I think that would be an extremely satisfying job. It probably doesn't pay really good, but I think it would be a lot of fun, and it's something I would consider doing. Realistically, probably what I would do, and something that my wife and I have actually been discussing, is we would probably get into the real estate market and we would probably start doing something on the level of like flipping homes or investment properties. If you guys follow my Instagram story, which you should, you'll see I do tons and tons of projects around the house. I'm pretty handy. I've learned over the years from my first house. That was like kind of my test house. I like just learned how to do everything there. And then so by the time I moved here to my second house, I had an idea of what I was doing, and I've gotten better and better at it. So being the fact that I have the tools and the knowledge to do, I'd say 80% of all my own handyman work and fixer-up type stuff, I would probably be looking to get in the real estate market and flipping homes or doing something along those lines. All right, guys, so P Bounds asks, scariest moment as a cop so far. Now, this is one of these things, you get asked this a lot, and over the 13 years that I've been doing this, there have been a number of moments here and there, but when you start to try and answer a question on the spot like this, it's hard to remember all of them. So I have 2 that stand out to me. One was from when I was actually pretty new. I think I only had about 2 years on. I was on midnight shift. There was actually a homicide that had just happened, a shooting. On my way to the call, I actually drove past the suspect vehicle with the shooter in it on a little 2-lane road. So basically there's this little tiny concrete median in the middle. It's in a neighborhood. I'm going northbound, he's going southbound, and we just passed right past each other. And at the time, the information hadn't come out that that was the suspect car. It came out literally seconds after I had passed it. So by the time I was able to make a U-turn and try and go back after it, it was long gone. I could tell you, I remember it was a black Cadillac CTS. That stuck in my mind. Even though it wasn't really scary to me at the time because I just didn't think about it, later on when I started to kind of process it and think about it, you know, kind of dawned on me, this guy just murdered somebody. I mean, literally shot him almost execution style. It was a gang kind of thing that had gone bad. I just drove past them. I drove head on at these people. I mean, literally passing them 6 feet away in the other lane of traffic. So even though obviously nothing happened to me, It could have. That's how close things are in this job, and sometimes you just escape because that person just decided not to do anything else bad that day, and maybe, you know, hopefully his beef was with that guy, and that was that, and he didn't see me as a threat because I was going the opposite way. I couldn't turn around because there was a median there, and he just continued driving. So when you really sit back and think about it and kind of process it, that was potentially a pretty scary situation because, you know, I just drove past somebody that murdered somebody, and at that point, they probably would do just about anything to try and get away. The other is a generalization, because I've been involved in a couple of these. You see them on TV, you see protests, you see like riots. You don't really think much to it until you are there. And I've been in a couple situations where they were, and when I say mini riots, I mean mini, like nothing really even that bad was happening. However, when you are now outnumbered several hundred to, you know, 1 or 5, because the one time there were about 5 of us in this parking lot when there were at least 200 people there. It's a very eye-opening experience that you realize realistically you're almost helpless in that point. If people wanted to do you harm, if they wanted to attack you, you're done for. There's nothing you can do with that many people there. So that's a very intimidating feeling to be in a crowd like that, and to know it's an angry crowd. It's not like you're at a concert. So that was pretty intimidating, and you know, doesn't put a good feeling in your stomach. So those would be my kind of top 2 situations that I've been in that really, you know, I didn't feel good about. All right, so Looney Bird and Rolfie ask, do you like other cops? Yeah, I guess. Now, all kidding aside, I mean, overall, yes, of course. It's a family. We all do the same job regardless of what agency you work for, regardless of how you do it. We are all in the same arena, so to speak. And that's why, and you've seen in some of my other videos, even with firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, all those people, yes, I like all my brothers in blue. I like all my paramedics, everybody like that. Now, on the flip side of that, I'll tell you, there's some people that I work with that I don't particularly care for the way they do the job, and on the flip side of that, they might not care for the way I do the job, and that's just life. You're always going to have somebody you work with that you may or may not see eye to eye on, and I'm not saying that they do the job wrong or bad, it's just not my style, and vice versa. So those are going to be situations where when we're at work, absolutely, you're my brother, I'll back you up, I'll do whatever I need to do, but I'm probably not going to go hang out with that person outside of work. And one of the pieces of advice that I have, I'll toss in here real quick, but I'll save it more for another video, is I'm big on having a life outside of work. So it's hard because when you work with a bunch of cops, if you hang out with them, you guys always have something to talk about. There's always a conversation, but every time you go out, all you're doing is talking about work. It's a common ground and it's easy to talk about, but all you're talking about is work, 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 cop stuff, cop stuff, cop stuff. And you need to get away from it. You need to disconnect, and you need to go out and have a normal life and have normal friends and do things like that. So I actually have a very close group of friends that I hang out with, that I work with, and we have other interests outside of work. So it works good that we talk about work a little bit, but then when we're out on the boat, you know, skiing, wakeboarding, or doing whatever we're doing, we're talking about that, or talking about home improvement projects or things like that. So we have a life outside of work, and I think that's why we click so good and are friends at work and outside of work. So hopefully that answers your question. Ron Parker asks, do you prefer to drive a Tahoe or the Explorer for work, and what do you think of the Caprice? So I have an Explorer, I have driven the Tahoes, and those would have been my choice originally. So when we just had Crown Vics and Tahoes, I would have told you I wanted a Tahoe. It was so big, it was roomy, you got to sit up high in the SUV, it was great. After we got the Explorers and I started driving those, I have a preference for those now because, again, I'm not a big guy, so I don't need as much room as the Tahoes have. But the Explorer has basically that happy medium, all right? The porridge isn't too hot and it's not too cold. It's just right. It's got the room for my gear. It's got extra leg room, headroom, all that sort of stuff. It's sporty, it's nimble, it handles good. So you have that best of both worlds. Now, as far as the Caprice goes, we have a couple of the Caprices. We tested them for a while. We didn't end up going to them full on, but we have, I want to say, probably 6 or 7 of them, and I have driven them. It takes some getting used to because it's a small car. The cabin, the cockpit area is kind of small. It's got like a huge trunk. You can fit all kinds of stuff in there, but the basic cockpit of the car, and it has like the column shifter next to you in some of the models we have. So we have both. We have ones with the column shifter actually, and then we have the ones with the center shifter. The ones with the center shifter, because of the console in the middle, it makes it a little bit tight. The one thing that I will give those cars is they are fast. They're super fast. If you don't know, they have the same motor as basically the Corvette in them. The first one we had the 6-liter LT1 motor in it, and that thing scooted for a basic sedan. I mean, is really what that thing is. So they are very fast, but realistically, what we do on a day-to-day basis, we don't pursue for many things. It's a lot of speed and power that's not needed. I hate to say this, and this is dating myself and making me seem old, but some of the younger guys that I watch drive those things, they hot rod in them a little bit more than they probably should. And you know, when you have that kind of power, it's just a little easier to get in trouble and have something go south. So that's my take on basically all three of those cars and what I like. So I'm very happy with my Explorer. All right, so Jacob Adkins asks, are the calls you respond to in your vlogs actually real, or are they scripted by your agency? Jacob, they are 100% real. I'm not exactly sure how you could script something like that. I mean, these are the calls. You see me get the call on the computer, I drive to it, and I get out with those people. They're normal citizens. They're not actors and actresses. That's just some of the stuff we do. Now, I will let you in on a little bit of it is the calls that you do see are mostly actually all of them are non-criminal calls. It's one of the things, the agreement I have with my agency to keep everything just easy and simple is I don't film criminal investigations, and I also don't film inside private residences. So basically everything you see is stuff that the general public could see. You could literally walk up to every call that I'm on, stand on the sidewalk with a camera and film everything that I film 100% completely legally. In fact, I don't even need to blur the faces in the vlogs legally, but I do it just, it's something me and the chief discussed, and we decided it would be an extra little additive to try and not make anybody upset or angry, but to still be able to get the content out for you guys to see. So everything that you see is 100% real. The only thing that is, there are certain parts that I edit out just to speed up the process of I just can't put out a half-hour or 45-minute vlog. The chief would kill me. He reviews all of them, so he doesn't have the time to sit and watch all that. So a lot of our in-between of back and forths and ums and uhs and trying to figure it out, sure, that stuff gets edited out, but the core part of the call that you see, 100% real as it happens. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope, like I said, I got to your question. If I didn't, hopefully you learned something. And if you ask me a question either on Instagram or on the YouTube video, I will get to those. I promise it'll just be a matter of time. Anyway, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, get all the updated content, when the patrol vlogs, everything that I do. I appreciate you guys bearing with me. I have to do a little bit of a mix of the patrol vlogs and things like this. I know you guys want to see me out on the calls, and I am currently filming. I'm getting material for those. I do have a recruit right now, so I have to balance it with that because that is priority number one, like I've mentioned in several of the videos. So again, thanks for hanging in. Thanks for all of the support, and we will see you in the next one.